Hi everyone, how are you all doing? If this is the first time that you're watching my videos, thank you so much for being here. My name is Natalie. I am a Western tropical astrologer and I use a whole sign house system for all my forecasts and readings. In this video, we are talking about this upcoming week astrology forecast, and we will be talking about June 1st to June 7th of 2026. June is an interesting month because the month actually starts off with one of the most beautiful, auspicious, and abundant and nourishing aspect in the whole 2026, if I may say so. And then, you know how when you go to amusement park, you have that ride and you're on the roller coaster, it's going up and you're hearing the clicking sound, you're heading closer and closer to the peak, and then when you reach the peak you have that moment of suspension and it just goes down and it spiral, it start to gain speed, it go round and round and go down, and you just let go and you scream and it's like so exciting and things like that. Well, the astrology is a little bit like this month, in the month of June, because we start off with this whoa, beautiful and, like I say, very nourishing, very abundant aspect, which is the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Cancer. But after that really high note, the astrology is going to go through a little bit of a roller coaster ride, because we will be then stepping into some turbulent astrology. So the June month is pretty interesting. So I really want us to use this week, especially this week, to really rest whenever we can and if we are able to, and to recharge and recuperate ourselves, our energy, our body, our emotional, mental health, so that we can make space to welcome this beautiful aspect, and hopefully it will be manifest on the collective level to bring in some protection, safety, nourishing energy for what is happening around the world right now. I think we all can use some of that auspicious energy. So I really just keep praying and projecting this out to the collective, to the world, and to pray to, and I hope we can all do that, because it is the power of the collective after all. If more of us do it, I'm sure it will be amplified. But then the reason why is next week, yes, we then have that beautiful, yummy, auspicious aspect, and then we'll need to prepare ourselves because we will be navigating through some less beautiful, well, I can't say that it's not beautiful, right? I always think that energy goes both ways. There's yin, there's yang, there's light and shadow attribute to all the aspect, transit, and energy. That's what I always say, is how to work with it. And now that we know what's to come, we can then prepare ourselves and have our free will, after all, to decide how to work with this energy, how to face these energy changes, and so on and so forth. And we'll be talking about that every week. I'm always with you, like I said, every step of the way, walking along your side through all this aspect and transit. And if I can be an assistant, I am also available for personal consultations and readings. With that said, let's dive into this week. This week we don't have like a ton. Finally, I find myself having the chance to say there's not a lot happening this week, because if you watch my previous video, I think like 4 out of 5 videos there's a lot happening this week. Well, there's not a lot happening this week. There's a couple things, yes, we do need to be mindful of and take notice of, but not a lot. That's why I said use this week to really set yourself up for what's to come later on in the month, and also the summer, which we will talk about. All right, let's focus, Natalie. Okay, all right. June 1st, we have Mercury entering Cancer, and Mercury will stay in Cancer for 2 months until August 9th. Do you know where I'm going? I'm sure some of you that have been watching astrology videos or mine, you already know what I'm about to say. You guessed it. We have another Mercury retrograde journey upon us, because typically Mercury is the fastest, well, no, the moon is. But the moon is a luminary, so Mercury is the fastest planet. It zoomed through a sign within 2 weeks, sometimes maybe 2-ish week. But this time, for a couple of months because Mercury will slow down and then retrograde and station direct again. That's why, and it's happening in the sign of Cancer. That's why it's staying in Cancer for like a full 2 months, a little bit more than 2 months actually. Mercury retrogrades in water signs tend to be a little bit slower, and sometimes well, it depends on your natal chart, right? But it can tend to stir up more because after all, water signs is emotions, it's fluidity, it talks about a lot of things. And when emotions are involved, sometimes, you know, things can get a little bit more turbulent. But for our highest good, I always believe that, you know, whatever needs to happen, whatever happens is always for our highest good, one way or another, even though sometimes we do not understand or we can't see the reason of why certain things happen just yet. But we always do when later on we have the chance to reflect on it. So yes, Mercury retrograde. The pre-shadow, I'm going to give you some dates now. So if you want, you can jot that down to prepare yourself. So the pre-shadow, okay, if you haven't watched my videos before, I always say that the Mercury retrograde journey is split into 3 phases. The pre-shadow, it is when the Mercury starts to slow down to prepare for the actual retrograde, which is the phase 2, the actual retrograde journey, where Mercury retrograde back the degrees point. And then the phase 3, which is the post shadow, that is when Mercury station direct again, slowly gaining its speed back and slowly travel through the degrees that it was retrograding in. And that is the phase 3 of the whole Mercury retrograde. And that is why we do not only pay attention to the actual retrograde, Mercury retrograde, anyway, sorry. See, it's already eating my words. I'm very heavy in water signs. That's why I can feel that energy intuitively more than the others. Anywho, so Mercury retrograde, the actual phase 2 is not what we only pay attention to. We do want to make notes and pay attention to the pre and post, because we all experience the energy differently. Sometimes we'll feel more intense during the pre-shadow because often that's the time when, you know, like things started to happen. And then during, well, from my personal experience and from all the client consultations and reading that I've done, I found that overall, again, I'm not speaking for every single one, but overall, I do find that the pre-shadow can be sometimes messier and more turbulence. And during the actual retrograde is when you try to demystify what is really happening, and sometimes things might escalate, but sometimes that is when you try to navigate through all the REs, which is like, you know, reevaluate, readjust, rethink, redo, you know, reconciliation, blah, 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 blah. And the post shadow is when you're starting to know what to do, like the aftermath, right? What I should do, maybe I need to talk to that person again, maybe clarity is coming in, maybe solution answers are coming in. So that is why I always say, do not only think about the actual retrograde period, think about and make note of the pre and post shadow as well. With that said, pre-shadow will start June 12th with Mercury retrograde, with Mercury at 16 degrees 19 minutes in the sign of Cancer. And then phase 2 will be on June 29 when Mercury station retrograde at 26 degrees 15 minutes. It will then retrograde back and station direct at 16 degrees 19 minutes on July 23rd. And from that onwards, that is when the post shadow begins and it ends finally August 6th. And then Mercury will travel the last few degrees in the sign of Cancer and leave the sign of Cancer finally August 9th. So yes, it is a little bit longer than usual. It feels a little bit dragging already. Like when I say it, I can already feel the energy. I do read it intuitively. So this is why I want to share the dates ahead so you can prepare for it. So you can start making notes what is happening in your life, what kind of conversation, what kind of thought is going through, because Mercury do rule our communication, you know, our commerce, you know, travel, and our businesses, and so on and so forth. So let's talk about Mercury in Cancer. What does this transit bring us? Mercury in Cancer is a lot quieter compared to Mercury in Gemini, which we just had and is having right now, because right now when I'm recording, uploading it, is 31st of May. So Mercury in Cancer is water sign. Cancer is a water sign, so it's more intuitive. It's more about feeling and sensing the messages. It's about even psychic messages, right? You might find yourself a bit more intuitive during this period of time. You might find yourself instead of really like saying it all out, like expressing yourself, talking to someone, sometimes messages are communicate through like just sometimes it's that look, the sign that the two of you get it. It's like, yeah, I do, I get it, I know what you mean, you know, like I feel you, that kind of feeling. And sometimes messages might not come in directly through words and conversation. It can come through like lyrics, picking up signs and synchronicity, right? Maybe this is overhearing something someone said and it clicks something in you and give you the message you need. Maybe this is through, you know, seeing signs, seeing synchronicity, picking up little things like that, right? Maybe it can come through dreams and meditation. So pay attention to those things as well. And Mercury in Cancer can be a time also that tend to be a bit more nostalgic, tend to be a bit more about the past, because Cancer is associated with the past, right? And it is talking about the womb space. So for some, it can be related to feminine topics, motherhood, or mother figures. It can be about the pre-life, well, not pre-life because you're already alive, like the past. So especially during Mercury retrograde, but you might find yourself during this Mercury in Cancer transit, maybe you guys are talking about the past a bit more, the good old times, right? Sharing stories, memories with friends, family, you know, talking about it, laughing about it. But also sometimes it can stir up past hurts, trauma and wounds, especially during Mercury retrograde, but they're all coming up for a purpose, for a reason. Maybe it is for you to not running away from it. Maybe it is for you to recognize it, accepting it, healing it, talking about it, and so on and so forth, right? Mercury in Cancer is also about communicating our needs, right? In the sign of Cancer, it's talking about what nourishes us, what makes us feel safe, secure, and protected within ourselves, with each other, and on the collective level, in the community, in the world, in the large, right? Like we might be talking about this, and with what is happening around the world, I'm sure a lot of the conversation might be surrounding these topics as well. Cancer ruled by the moon is the closest celestial body to planet Earth. That's why it is also about what is happening locally to us, right? Our neighbor, our neighborhood, our local areas, our community is talking about our home life and being a homebody sometimes. That's why it is also talking about our home environment, the people that we live in, we share the local area with. So during Mercury in Cancer, you can also find yourself maybe talking to your family more, your people that you live with more, communicating with a neighbor, be more involved in community, or you're also thinking about how to redecorating your home and so on and so forth, because Cancer talks about the home. So these are all the topics that can come up during Mercury in Cancer. And then on June 2nd, we have the Sun in Gemini, sextile Saturn in Aries at 12 degrees. So sextile is a supportive energy, but it does require us to take action. It's a supportive aspect for us to take action and act upon it, right? To use this energy. So today, this aspect can be, Sun in Gemini is about, communicating, expressing, thinking. So this can be solidifying a plan, a business proposal, a strategy, and an itinerary, because Gemini talks about travel and Saturn is about doing the work. In Aries, this can be you expressing that you are going to start this creative project ideas. Maybe this is about you initiating something, starting to plan something, right? Maybe you are, this doesn't have to be anything like crazy or big. This can be simply, oh, I want to like write down my plan for the rest of the month. This can be, I can go plan my upcoming summer trip, this can be, putting something onto paper today. June 3rd, first we have Mercury in Cancer, trine North Node in Pisces at 3 degrees. This can be, for some, not all, but today it can feel like you had a turning point conversation, like a conversation that might lead to something, right? Lead to a breakthrough, lead to a life change, because we're talking about North Node, right? This can also be a more of a spiritual or healing conversation. This can also be supportive because it is a trine after all, and Cancer and Pisces, they're both water signs. So this can actually be a day where you have some healing conversation, a conversation that make you feel emotionally supported, a great day to maybe express your emotions to someone else. Maybe this is a day to schedule a healing session, a therapy session, a consultation with a healer, astrologer, and so on and so forth as well. And another aspect is happening. So you can be feeling one way or another. We have Mercury in Cancer square Neptune in Aries at 4 degrees. This can be a moment of Mercury retrograde, okay? Because we're squaring Neptune. Mercury is squaring Neptune. So this can be lost in translation. Details might be lost. You might feel like you can't find some kind of solution or clarity. It can be harder to come by today. You feel like you're not seeing the whole picture of certain thing or situation. Communication can be a bit muggy, right? There can also be some technical or tech glitches as well. So do be mindful. This is how the day might turn out for some of us. With Neptune, this can also be a day that, what is it good for then? It's a square. Well, this is a day where you might simply feeling a bit more tired. You just do not have much of energy because it's a square to Neptune. It's asking you to rest and sleep. But maybe it's a great day to just relax if you can, and maybe it is a day to daydream a little bit, escape a little bit, right? You might find yourself just want to do nothing and binge watch a little bit. Maybe you want to daydream a little bit. This is a day where the Lulu might really lead to Salulu later on, right? This is also giving us a chance to dream a little, because I feel like sometimes we do need that to create space for possibility and potential, to see beyond what is really happening or what is. But it is also creating the space to imagine, the unknown, the potential and possibility of the unknown, because that is also where the magic lies. So perhaps we do need that sometimes, right? But the downside is that the square to Neptune can also lead to escapism and avoidance. And I know while some people like to, meditate, I will recommend today to meditate, to, daydream and just relax a little. You might have some really interesting or even psychic dream or downloads. But this can also be a day where some might use drugs or psychedelic in a way that can lead to an unhealthy spiral or escapism. So do be mindful of this aspect as well. And then just to mention, June 5th, June 6th, we do have a void of course moon for 28 hours 52 minutes, so almost 29 hours. Is going to start from June 5th 12:50 p.m. to June 6, 4:41 p.m. Pacific time. So just the time according to where you are in the world. Void of course moon, I mentioned it before in a few of my previous video. It is when the moon is not making any kind of aspect. So it's just like floating in the universe and not aspecting any planets. And in electional astrology, you want the moon to making some kind of aspect if you want to, like, for example, pick a day to do certain things, right? So during void of course moon, the suggestion and advice is not to do something that you don't want to have a backfire effect, right? If you want to launch something, do not do that during a void of course moon. It's like a big no-no, right? But if you want to do something, you want to be sneaky and do something that will not will have the least repercussion coming back to you, then do during this time. And believe it or not, a lot of governments actually use this time to pass some kind of law or regulation that they don't want people to fight back. So this is how you use astrology. So that's it. Pretty much that is what is happening this week. Like I said, not a lot. It's just a whole bunch of Mercury as energy moving. So hopefully you make note of those dates I just mentioned and share with you. And this week, since we do not have a lot, like I said before, use this time to really if you can and if it's possible available to you, make time to really recharge, you know, to rest and make space for that beautiful auspicious and nourishing aspect that is coming in for us next week, June 9th. So that's all for now for this week. Take care. I'm sending you lots of love. Have a great week ahead. And if you're interested in any kind of personal consultations and reading, all my information are in the description box below. And I will see you next week. Bye.